Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns. This week we're doing American Beauty. A quick apology, there were some technical difficulties that led to my audio channel being not particularly high quality in this episode, but I think it's still fairly listenable. Next week we'll be back to our typical incredibly high standard of audio quality. Obviously this episode contains spoilers for American Beauty. Do enjoy.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Diminishing Returns. My name is Alan Turing. With me, as always, is Sol Harris.
Hi.
And as our very special guest today, we have the returning co-presenter, Judy Bignall.
Hello.
Not
Hello.
special anymore.
No, not special if you've done it before. Busted you in. So this week, we're actually going with a listener request. Our listener, Benjamin Berry, or Benjamin Burry.
Bunjamin.
He recommended doing American Beauty, and I thought that's a good idea. I haven't watched American Beauty for ages, and it's quite an interesting film, as I remember it.
Yeah, and you were keen to show your support for Kevin Spacey in lieu of recent events.
Yes. Yeah. A Spacey apologist. So he touched some kids, so...
What was the actual claim against him? Was it to do with kids or was it to do with Weinstein?
Yeah, it was underage boys, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like 15-year-olds, something like that. Anyway, we don't know anything about that. And certainly don't have any legal recourse to discuss it. So,
well, of course we do. That's our whole shtick. We're always trying to get sued.
No.
For the money you don't make. Ah!
Come at me, Spacey. Seriously. I'll take you on in the court of law.
Don't take on the person you're apologising for. That's
No,
terrible.
I'm not apologising for him. Alan is. Alan loves
Oh.
Kevin Spacey.
I just want to be clarified that that's not true. This Sol has made this up.
No, Alan loves Kevin Spacey and stands by him. I'll say it. I'll call him a scumbag. I'll say it to his face. Come at me, Spacey.
God.
So we're dealing with American Beauty. Now, this was Sam Mendes' directorial debut as a filmmaker. Made in 1999. Shall we start with our personal reflections? I think I must have seen it at the time. I was aware of it at the time. You guys are a bit younger.
I remember my uncle and aunt had it on VHS, and it was like, oh, there's a scantily clad nudie woman on this box from the look of things. I might have to investigate this when I've got a moment to myself.
So you saw the naked underage girl on there and you thought, I'll have a bit of that?
She's not underage, is she?
The character is.
Is she?
She's 17.
Well, I was like 12 or something, bear in mind, when I was looking at this. So she was way older.
So
than me.
12-year-olds can't commit crime.
If anything, she was doing a crime on me.
Yeah.
All right?
Right. Let's start some beef with Mina Suvar. Anyway, so Judy, I know you like this film, don't you? So
Wait, how old is she in the film?
You're not asking
the character.
me. Go answer.
17, I think.
That's fine in this country. Nation of pedos.
If you brought, that's what Churchill said, doesn't it?
No, that's a good point though. I don't think she is meant to be underage, is she?
If she's 17, it depends what state they're in.
Because I think she you can't really tell with teenage girls, but she's talked quite openly about like all the people she's meant to have slept with.
Yeah.
And I think the big reveal is not kind of like, oh god, she's underage and she's done it. It's that whole kind of, I'm a virgin thing.
Yeah. Well, you've run to the end there.
Let's cut that bit out then. No worries.
But yeah, the point of it is not about the legality of it, it's about the morality of the situation, or even that as a metaphor. But we're going in, there's a lot to discuss here, I think. And I was very interested by this film. There was lots of things that made me think, ooh, What is it saying here? What was it trying to say here? So, first thoughts? Let's just start there. Judy?
I really like this film. I really like it. I first watched it probably when I was 18. And I've only seen it about 3 or 4 times overall, one of which was last week when I rewatched it for this podcast. And I kind of forget how great it is between watches, and then I watch it again and just fall in love with it all over again. So that's kind of where I stand.
I think I have a similar experience to that, where I've only seen it 2 or 3 times, maybe 2 times. But I left such a big gap between the last time I saw it and this time that, if anything, I almost went the other way. If anything, I'd almost bigged it up too much in my head, so it couldn't quite live up to it when I came back to it. But I do like it. It's good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I wouldn't say I love it, because ultimately my feelings come down to I feel it.
He should have fucked her at the end.
Well,
all right, chill out, Alan. Calm down. You know you're on Spacey's side. You're rooting for him.
So my ultimate kind of problem with the film, it's not a big problem, but my takeaway from this watching was that it feels like it's trying to be a very personal film and telling a very personal character story, but it's formed in a kind of studio way. It feels impersonal and very professional. And I looked up the writer, and he is a professional scriptwriter. Like that's what he does. He's a writer, and so he does know what he's doing in terms of putting a script together. But this was his attempt to write something a bit more personal and talk and like deal with some things he was going through at the time. He was in his early 40s, and like questioning his life choices and stuff like that. So, but that's what I think. I think it's like it's getting to these personal stories, these personal ideas. But he's gone, oh well, I can't sell that, so let's just make it into. And there's this sense of a mystery. There's like this murder mystery element that just gets a bit lost in it. It feels like that was a way that he decided to. Oh yeah, I'll create a structure through this, and it never really goes anywhere. It doesn't matter that he dies at the end. And I feel like that should really matter if it's gonna happen. And it certainly doesn't matter how he dies. Or not enough anyway. So what do you think? Because that was kind of my ultimate problem with it, and it doesn't detract it from it too much because I still enjoy the character study, but I think it's sort of desperately trying to be something else just in case that's not enough.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said. Really, I mean, one of my notes is kind of how much I hate the opening scene, because it feels like it feels like they were scrambling around in the edit to try and make it have a hook at the start. Because it opens on Thora Birch and a young man in a bedroom being like, "Would you kill my dad?" Yeah.
Someone really should just put him out of his misery.
Want me to kill him for you?
Yeah. Would you?
And then his narration comes in and he's saying like, oh, this is the story of how I died or whatever.
Yeah, and there were loads of films made in the late 90s of the sort of teenagers murder parent genre. Apparently they always had about 4 or 5 like cold open scenes like that. It wasn't just thrown together in the edit. And they actually trimmed them all back apart from that one. Apparently, the original cut of the film had them being found guilty for his murder at the end of the...
Yeah, like it bookended it with a courtroom drama a bit, didn't it? Yeah.
But I think without that element, it does just feel very like this weird tacked on element that doesn't need to be there. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at before.
Yeah.
That you've kind of got this great little character piece, really, about this man having kind of a midlife crisis. Arguably not, but depending on how you look at it.
Renovation.
Yeah.
And I actually watched the trailer. Like I went back, I found the original trailer because I was wondering if is that the hook they were just trying to make it and they're going to sell it as like a murder mystery, and it's not in there at all. It is just like, oh look, here's this character, here's this guy doing this. So it wasn't even like a desperate marketing ploy. I think it was, like I say, I think it was a writer who didn't trust himself to tell a personal story and just so thought, "Oh, I'll make this something that I know will work, and I know I can sell."
You know, you wrote that play, Alan.
Yeah,
Turning 30, hitting 30.
Hitting 30.
yeah.
Did you tack anything on to make that more appealing to the masses anywhere?
No, I just go for
No.
character study.
Raw
Yeah,
drama.
I don't need to sugar the pill.
If you were going to tack something on to make it appealing to the masses, what would you go for?
Ghost story.
Oh yeah, the masses, they're eating up ghost stories out there.
They love it. It'd be a nun, possessed nun. She's turning 30.
Well, you've kind of referenced a few times about this like murder mystery thing. I'd never seen it as that kind of framework before you said it. Actually, now you do. I see what you're talking about, but I don't find it kind of registers that much. I do find the beginning a little weird.
That's exactly what I mean. I think it's something that they put in there as a sort of give it a sense of structure, and then the directors come along and gone, well, we're just interested in this character.
Yeah, I never thought of it being like that either until rewatching it, and then it was just on this rewatch very apparent. Oh, they clearly did try and include this sort of murder thriller element in here, and it's kind of got lost a bit.
I don't know. I mean, I had completely... When you first mentioned it, I completely forgot about that bit at the beginning, which, let's be honest, yeah, you could just take away and start with the narration and him, narrating that opening scene as it pans down into the... as it zooms in into the street. But I thought you meant the bit at the end where you... Obviously, spoilers! Where you hear the gunshot and then you kind of see a few... Doing. Yeah, you see what everyone's doing. I thought you meant that. And I thought, well, it's not really... Well. To me, that's not about murder mystery. That's more about any one of these people could have done it for their own reasons. And hey, look, it just happened to be this person.
What is that?
That's kind
murder
of
mystery.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it's laboured over. It's more of a kind of, oh, look, it's a flavour.
I mean, it's not a mystery in the traditional sense. It's a thriller in the sense of which one is going to be the one to kill him.
Exactly. That's
They've
why
all got motivation.
At the beginning, it says, "I'm going to die," and then you go, "Well, how is he going to die?" That's setting up a sense of suspense.
I never. That's because when I watched it, I never thought, "How is he going to die?" I thought, "Why is he going to die?"
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's why it doesn't work. That's what we're saying.
And I think that's how most people get something out of the film. How most people view it. I think for the vast majority of people watching it, it's not about the murder element. It's about this character piece and these people and what they're going through. So
this film was made in 1999, and
good year.
We discussed Fight Club a few episodes ago.
Yeah,
and I was thinking when I was watching this is very much of the same mold. Obviously, a very different sort of type of film, but it's coming from the same place. So that kind of sense of like, I have everything I could want, and why? What do I like? I've bought into this sort of lie of the American dream that I should do this, I should do this, and suddenly I'm going, what the fuck is this about? What do I really want to do? And there was a lot of that going on at that time period.
Yeah,
Fight Club as being an obvious example. So, could you make this film now? Would you make this film the same today, or is it stuck in a particular time?
Well, no, because Kevin Spacey, I don't know if you heard, he's had all these allegations made against him. And seems like he was sexually assaulting young men.
I think it would be a different... I don't know that it's kind of time limited. The story isn't time limited. It's more kind of setting limited, that kind of suburbia role, or that suburbia setting.
What was happening then that was making filmmakers at that time ask these sort of questions that then stopped?
I don't know. I think the world's not quite as, content as it was at that point in the 90s. There was restlessness breeding as a result of it that you don't really have now, because now there are all these issues that people are dealing with, such as Kevin Spacey touching young kids that people are trying to...
Can we talk about The Neighbour, who's so deep?
Well, I was going to say that's something that you probably wouldn't keep the same if you were making this now. I don't think you'd dare try and make
I'd be using an iPhone. Wouldn't be
a likeable peeping Tom character. It's just kind of doesn't play in this day and age, especially not in a film with Kevin Spacey in it.
When you get off Kevin Spacey's back, hasn't he got enough problems?
Christ.
Yeah, the fact that the neighbour, well, he looks about 25, but the neighbour kid who's supposed to be 18 or whatever, he's creeping on the girl next door, but because she's not the girl next door type, she's actually a bit like frumpy and shy. It's okay because he's not perving on her. He's actually
empowering her,
looking past the attractive one to the other one who's a bit more plain and therefore more accessible.
Intriguing. That's not why he does it. Come on, he films a dead bird and says it's beautiful. It's not because it's like, hey, this dead bird is accessible.
Yeah, but he does.
You're like, men don't think like this.
yeah, that's what men think. Easy target. So he does film a load of shit and says it's beautiful. Yeah, just as a character, it doesn't play. And I don't know if it did back in 1999, but he just comes across as a weird, creepy guy.
Mm.
He comes across as a weird, creepy guy until that scene with the bag. And on this rewatching, I got it.
You mean that
Scene
ghost?
with the bag, I got it.
Captured on film.
But the rest of it is like, yeah, why are you filming the dead bird? But that sequence and the script, I have to say, like the script at that particular moment, the delivery, it was really, really good. Really,
I don't know.
really strong.
I think
It
I'm the
hit
opposite.
me.
I think for me, when he starts showing her a bag, I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, yeah, but you're looking at the practical side of it, like very rational mind. Why this is just a bag.
I get a dead bird more than a bag.
Look,
I
I
can't
know
win.
fucking shitty, arty teenagers trying to impress girls when I see it. Like, he's probably reading a French poetry after that. Just cut that scene out.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful.
Should we talk about Thora Birch?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Hang on, remind me which one Thora Birch is.
The main girl.
the main woman, yeah,
Daughter.
the young
The
one.
daughter. Okay. What do you mean the main girl? I definitely wouldn't say that Jane Burnham's the main girl.
Jane Burnham.
That's the character. Janie.
She's the second
yeah, she's
most lead
Of course she is.
character after Lester.
Yeah, she's the character.
Oh, I didn't know.
She's almost a
It doesn't
protagonist.
seem like it should be. Yeah, but so's Annette, whatever her name is, and Angela. What's her face?
No, she's there. The other ones are there to make Lester see things of himself. Whereas he doesn't really get that from his daughter.
But yeah, she was poised to be kind of a big deal around this time, wasn't she? She had this, and there was another film around this time. Oh, Ghost World, 2000, I think Ghost World was.
2001.
2001.
There was some
Yeah.
other girl in that, but she never went anywhere.
Yeah. And she did Lion King 2.
Wait, what? What was she?
She was the voice of
This is my thing.
the main one, I think.
Kiara.
Yeah,
What?
opposite Andy Dick.
I'm on her. Wait, who's Andy Dick in Lion King 2?
The one who sounds like Andy Dick. the one who's like that. Wow, I'm a wacky lion.
Oh, him! Yeah. Oh, I hear it now. I've only heard Andy Dick in Hoodwinked, so I was like, I can't relate. Anyway, I'm on Thora Birch's IMDb thing, and I can't. There's not that much she's kind of known for. No big.
Well, she was a
stuff.
child actor. She was a child actor, and as a teenager, she kind of hit a point where it sort of all fell apart. I don't know.
No, I believe her dad basically destroyed her career.
Oh.
Because he was managing her. I think basically my understanding is her dad got her blacklisted from Hollywood, and she kind of her career never really recovered. But she had a little moment in the late 90s, turn of the century, when she was poised to be a big star. And
She's good. It's a good performance.
okay, yeah, it just sounds like her dad was a maniac. Apparently, she got fired from an off-Broadway revival of Dracula because her dad was threatening other actors. He kept insisting he was present to watch her filming sex scenes, which could be seen as good parental stuff, but apparently he was quite creepy about it. Just sounds like her dad was a bit of a creep and got her blacklisted.
Yeah, we got. So then playing opposite her is Mina Suvari, who's playing more typical hot chick.
You know what? I had a lot more respect for her performance on this rewatch. the first time I saw this film, I always just sort of dismissed it as, Thora Birch is the good one, and she's just kind of the typical, like you say, hot one who's just in that role. But watching it again, I thought her performance was actually really good, had a lot of nice subtlety to it.
It is, and it actually, I found that really interesting that that wasn't a kind of easy black and white line, because it felt like it really needed to be, and it was too interested in making Mina Suvari's character work as a whole, which is good, but it ultimately took away from the Thora Birch character, because when they fall out, it's not Mina Suvari being a total bitch, it's kind of both of them.
Yeah.
But it works both ways, and then because at the end we see Mina Suvari's character is a lot of bluster and facade, and is actually very fragile and vulnerable, which is kind of the whole point of her character journey. So we have a lot of sympathy for her, and I think that's important for that character. But then it makes it more difficult for your other character, and so that was a difficult balance that I'm not sure the film quite got right, because I'm not sure I really liked Thora Birch's character by the end of it.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy next door that she runs off with, like the whole thing, it just seems, and he has perfectly good reason to walk away from that family home, but because he's such a dick, even though his dad like beats him up, but and you see him so often lying and manipulating people. So then when he was supposed to accept that he really loves this girl and she's fallen for him, it just feels manipulative, because you see all the things he's doing to this girl who doesn't get much attention. So all he has to do is pay her attention instead of her hot friend who usually gets the attention and like he's in.
Oh, I don't know. That makes it sound a lot more calculating on that relationship front. I didn't view it that way at all. Really? I don't think he comes across like a dick.
Oh, I think it does. I think
I'm not sure if he's supposed to, but he does.
Yeah, throughout the film, I was sort of thinking, is this going to be the twist reveal that he's just using her and manipulating her, and that's kind of what they're setting up? Oh
God,
with?
no, I never got that at all. I don't know, call me a sucker. I just thought it was genuine. He is like zero bullshit. So on the bit where obviously I'm not paying you for what you're doing out here. Fine, don't pay me. It's just, it comes across as a guy who's dropped all of that facade, and he's like, well, fuck it, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to live my life very honestly. So there's no point. And also, when his dad's beating him up, like, why did you go in my cabinets? It's like he came clean and said, I wanted to show my girlfriend the plate. It's like there's just...
Yeah, but he said that because he knew the dad's reaction would be, oh, you've got a girlfriend.
I didn't see it that way at all. I saw it as like, he's got no reason to lie. He's been punched already.
But he lies to his dad all the time.
The first bit there where he quits his job just made me think he was a twat. Because we're meant to be on his side, that his boss, he's doing this job, he's agreed to do this job, and then very reasonably, his boss comes out and says, well, come on, don't be stood out here smoking jazz cigarettes when you're meant to be working. Come on, you've got a job to do. And he's like, fuck you, man, telling me to do my job when I'm at work. Who the fuck do you think you are?
His rules.
Yeah.
I mean, if he hadn't said like, now fuck off and leave us alone, if he just said, all right, don't pay me, I didn't see him as like I said, a dick. I didn't see him as really manipulative. I saw that as kind of, wow, what an inspiring, what a fresh outlook. And so it completely makes sense that Lester's giving him that face that he gives him, like, wow, I've never heard anyone talk with so much confidence. And I think the idea is that, wow, he's got his life, he knows exactly how not to bullshit someone. He's so young, and he's doing something I wish I could do. I mean, coming from Leicester.
He's from Leicester.
No.
The point of that is because he doesn't have to care about the job because he deals drugs for a living and makes a lot of money out of it.
So he's got nothing to lose. I say he's got nothing to lose. He doesn't need this job.
Exactly. So there's nothing cool about telling someone to shove their job up their arse when you don't need it.
That poor manager's got to go back in there, and he's probably got to run around serving people hors d'oeuvres and stuff while juggling that with doing paperwork in the back room. He's having an awful night now because this
he's missed his boys' softball game.
Like I said, I'm not finding it inspiring myself, but I mean, it's the reason I can see why Lester turns around and kind of goes, wow, this guy was just throw it all in. And
ultimately, this story is about a man who smokes one joint and then destroys his life and ultimately dies. So
no, he smokes many more.
But yeah, I think everything that boy does is manipulative and and deductive on his part and deliberate. I don't know if it's written that way though, and I think that's a problem with writing rather than
I think it comes across that way, but I think
to me because I'm a manipulative person. I recognise it.
that's it. I think about 90% of it is actually just very straightforward, sincere behaviour. But because we know because some of his behaviour is manipulative and bullshitty, it's difficult to not read all of it as like, hang on, is this sincere? It really muddies the water, I think.
I find it funny that I assume he's quite genuine, and there's you guys like, no, come on, no man would ever look past the hot girl and zoom in on the girl in the background. Like, you're saying that as a guy's point of view, so there's me like, oh, I don't see any.
Well, no, one of the earliest scenes with him is him swapping his piss for clean piss. Like they set him up as,
Oh, he's savvy.
Yeah, he's a confident trickster.
Going for lowering your standards so you can get a girl is not.
Oh,
is not.
Would we say that?
but,
Bit of a Hugh Grant there. Would we call her chubby?
But that's it. For me, you going for the hot popular chick who's just like partying all the time.
Why would he do that when he's not popular himself?
Exactly. That's what I mean, because that's the stereotype. Whereas you wouldn't really. You find someone who you get on with and you have more in common with.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you lower your standards. That means your standards are different.
Yeah, exactly. But this
Don't
film
say exactly like that was your point.
This film presents it as, oh look, he's looking past the hot girl and seeing the hidden one who hides her light under a bushel. He sees the beauty within. As if that's like something special. This film, it feels like it's been written by someone who is a manipulative dickhead and doesn't even know it. And so he thinks what he's doing is sincere.
Well, I'll trust you to recognise that. I couldn't possibly
Because when you recognise it, you're either doing it knowingly or you go, oh, I probably shouldn't do that. But when you're young and you're working it out, you just do things that get results and then you go, oh, that worked. I'll do that again. But you don't necessarily know why, and then you don't realise the damage you're doing to another person until much later on when they leave you.
Oh my.
So,
Christ.
But anyway, again, so this is an issue with the Mina Suvari and Thora Birch character dynamic because it's not this hot girl who's a total bitch and this sort of more down-to-earth girl, she's just quiet and she does her own thing. They're best friends, and they are genuinely seem to be good friends until later on when they're just not friends anymore, and it just feels like a silly teenage girl argument.
Yeah.
But it's presented as some great like fraction.
Is it? I always thought it came across as just some little spat that teenage girls
they'd
have.
make friends the next day.
Yeah, but then it's also precipitated by the fact that she's like going, or he's going, if I leave now, will you run away with me? And she's like, yeah, I will.
Yeah, because teenagers are impulsive.
Yeah.
I don't think the film wants you to think, oh my god, this is some big, meaningful shit. I think it's just, look, it's impulsive teenagers. This is what teenagers do.
That's basically my issue with it, is we're supposed to be going, oh, look past Mina Suvari, she's just the hot chick. But she's not. She never comes across like that. She comes across as a nice person with a lot of personality.
She comes across as one of the most well-rounded people in the whole film, frankly.
I think in terms of her coming across as a bitch, though, like that really depends on who you're looking at her from. So, like, for Ricky, she probably does come across as a... so the creepy guy probably does just come across as a bitch.
Well, that's because he's an incel, isn't he? He's just like got a chip on his shoulder about attractive women who won't talk to, like, women owe me attention.
She sees her best friend starting to go on with this guy who likes to play with dead birds and smoke drugs and film her from like the other side of the street. Like, I think her response is perfectly reasonable to try and protect her friend. I'm not quite sure who I'm supposed to like and who I'm not supposed to like. And
I think that's
I could
the point.
ultimately put that down to good writing, but I think it's actually slightly sloppy writing.
No, I think it's deliberate. I really think it's deliberate because it feels like everyone's textured enough.
I think it might be deliberate direction. I don't think it's deliberate writing, and it creates a kind of slight confusion in the whole film. I think the director knows what they're doing.
Sam Mendes scripts.
Oh, God. But I like that it
Underwood.
feels like they're meant to be like normal people. Oh, not again. Hang on, you cracked that Underwood joke about a fucking year ago. Let it go.
It's a deep cut reference for listeners of the podcast.
And I got it.
So while we're talking about Mina Suvari's character, let's talk about sex as a power dynamic, which this film explores in great detail. So
Reading from an essay.
Mina Suvari's character is the sex pot, right? She's the tease. She's the gem.
The sex pot, did you say?
Sex pot. Yeah. It's like a big pot full
You
of
sound
sex.
like a granddad.
That's okay.
Oh god.
Lester is sort of very unrealistically and not very convincingly completely drawn to her. And this is another failing for the film for me, that if you're going to play things subtle and do that subtle, just having him kind of weirdly obsessed with her.
It's not meant to be subtle. There's nothing about it that's subtle.
I know.
That's why everyone's like, fucking hell, he really fancies you.
Exactly, it's not subtle, but that's why I think if we're going to put in something subtle, why can't this adult man like hide these things?
Because he's gawky. And then he gets cooler as the film goes on.
He's a very charismatic, charming man, and it means, he can get away with just being an overt sexual predator, and people aren't going to call him on it
Until
for
30
years
later.
and years, until the culture surrounding him, changes, and then maybe people feel comfortable coming out and saying, look, Kevin Spacey raped me, and this isn't okay.
I'm so sorry, I thought you were talking about Lester Burnham, but here you are talking about Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, getting on his Kevin Spacey high horse.
That's strike number 3.
No, I think it's played fine. I've fallen in love with enough women on the tube to find it very relatable, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the way that it's presented, and that's fine. But I just think if we're going to find where we find so much subtlety within Mina Suvari's character, I would perhaps let's see that on the other side. But also, we are implicit in it. Mina Suvari is presented as a sexual desirable object. The character is supposed to be, underage. She's supposed to be out of bounds, but she's presented as, not being that.
Is she meant to be underage? Like, and is that we haven't established where this film lands on that, because I never quite got that impression. But I don't remember the age coming up. I just always thought it was kind of like, oh, this is a bit inappropriate because she's your daughter's friend, young.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the whole point is that it's inappropriate.
I never got the impression it was like a legal line that they were crossing.
Well, I don't know. Does that matter? I don't know if that...
Yeah. I just think that it's going to affect how you read the film, whether or not you're crossing a legal boundary or not.
I don't see it as being about her being underage. I don't think she is.
The fact that that's never mentioned and that's not an issue, so I don't think...
Yeah, to me that would suggest that she's not underage, because it isn't mentioned and it's not an issue, therefore...
Okay, let me rephrase it. So she's presented as someone that's out of bounds because she's 20 years younger than him, 25 years younger than him. She's a daughter figure to him. Should be.
Should be.
And he sees her differently. Okay. We are asked to join in with Lester in this voyeurism, in this obsession. We're supposed to be with him on it, aren't we?
I don't know that you're supposed to be with him. I think you're supposed to relate to the feeling of infatuation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily hold it as a good thing or bad. I think it's meant to be beyond that. It's meant to just be that sensual feeling.
I don't think you're meant to be sat there going like, oh god, yeah, the nipple's going to come out. Oh, rose petals, roses. I don't think that's the idea. I think it's like Judy says. I think you're meant to just kind of go, okay, yeah, we've all kind of had this where we've noticed someone and gone, oh wow, they're very nice.
But it's very important that it's someone that he shouldn't be feeling that way about.
I don't at that moment. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's interesting that you see little children and think that's fine. Okay, whatever.
She's driving, so she's over 16.
I reckon the actor was at least 18. I reckon it's all kosher.
The actor was 20.
Well,
Yeah, there you
she's
go.
going to be older, yeah.
Well, that's not
She's
the
got a
point.
real baby face, though. She does it really young.
Look, all I'm saying is if you're talking to someone underage and it turns out that they're perhaps a 45-year-old policeman, it still counts.
You've watched so many of those
Just a
to catch
warning.
catch a predator.
It still counts as a crime. But I think that taboo element is supposed to be a part of it, and obviously it is later.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's why a lot of people say he's going through a midlife crisis, is because he's going through something that's not normal, with inverted commas. You know, it's not meant to be that you're like rooting for him to get with the girl who may or may not be underage, but is definitely not appropriately matched for him.
I think the very crucial thing about all this is that Mina Suvari's character always has the power. She's deliberately flirting with him and playing with him. Perhaps as a young person, not quite understanding the sort of full reach of that, but that's fine. But he's just the gawky, like, oh, I've got a crush on her. And when that power flips and she becomes the vulnerable one, then it becomes, oh, this is weird. And obviously the whole point is that Lester's character recognises that as well, and therefore his character journey is, he is ultimately a moral person. So that's the whole point. But I think that's why it works. I think that's why you can go with him, because it never seems creepy. It never really, because he's not in the
He's
power.
never a threat.
He's not in the power position.
Fuck, marry, kill, right? American Beauty.
Just do Lester Burnham and do the hat trick,
Fuck the wife.
You have to say that.
Annette Bening. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Kill Thora Birch. Marry Mina Savari, whatever she's called. Because she seemed like she would be someone you could actually get along with, and, she'd grow as a person, and you'd have some nice conversations. Thora Birch, I think, would just become very trying very quickly.
You'd
Do you
have
not
to
get that
fight off the
impression?
other men at the window with their video cameras.
Do you recognise any elements of that character in people you know?
Oh, I know what you're getting at, but no, not really. I don't think... I recognise a lot of his wife in people in my life. And I recognise a lot of him in my own. I can relate to all the masturbating in the film.
So, the wife, whose name I don't know, played by Annette Bening.
Carolyn.
Okay, so Carolyn, she's the ultimate in I'm presenting a facade of Americana. And in fact, she even sort of says that. There's a plot point where, like, to be successful, you have to show yourself being successful or whatever.
And I mean, that's what our character introduction is all about, showing and setting up. It's her doing the open house, and then she breaks down in tears because it doesn't go very well behind closed doors.
I was a bit literally about to say behind closed doors is like the theme of this, isn't it?
Yeah. And so she's the archetype, and Lester is the husband of that archetype. She needs him there to present this. And so when he breaks that contract, she suddenly falls as well. And then she has her own character journey. And again, it just feels like there's a bit too many character journeys going on in the film.
I don't know. I think they all kind of complement each other. I like hers.
I don't know if she has much of a journey. Hers feels a lot more like her husband's having a journey, and she feels like she has to try and do the same thing, which it doesn't come naturally to her. So she's just kind of playing catch up with him.
Yeah,
I think hers is hers is kind of so influenced by his, and his then becomes so influenced by hers. That's why I think they're both quite essential to the plot and the story and the character development.
I don't think he's influenced by hers so much as he sees her responding as being a green light to take things even further. But I feel like he's kind of operating as his own.
Oh, he is. I think he operates on his own.
If he's taking influence from anyone, it's the neighbour kid.
Yeah, but then I think he goes through another stage when he finds out she's been having an affair, and for him, it's like that's another stage of his rebellion, and it's like, he literally stops giving a shit then. But
that's it. I think that's just that he's no longer tied down to feeling bad about messing his wife around. That's basically all it is. He's just kind of freed from
and we don't get much of a journey with her in the sense of any guilt there particularly, or hesitation. She meets a man with eyebrows. She fucks him.
Oh my god, they are.
I have a question, Alan. Judy might be able to answer this. I don't know. Alan, have you ever called yourself the king or anything similar in the throes of passion? Because you strike me like someone who would.
Not the king.
Oh god.
Do you have like a nickname
Stop
for yourself?
Lovely hole.
Should we broadly touch on the plot? Because we've just sort of been talking about it. But I mean, what is the plot?
Midlife crisis. There is no plot.
The man has a midlife crisis. And then he's dead.
Yeah. Is it really, isn't it?
It affects the people around him.
Is there anyone else to talk about before the man?
The man. The man?
Random colonel and abused wife who we don't understand why she's a nutcase next door.
So we got, the abusive dickhead dad / husband who just seems like...
Homophobe.
Yeah.
Chris Cooper.
That's just, yeah. Sort
King
of...
Cooper.
Yeah, and this was when Chris Cooper was on the way up, wasn't he? Like he was sort of becoming a star at this point and doing that. And what's the other one? The Nicolas Cage adaptation. And it shows, he's a great actor. I don't know, what about the character though? Because this is a character where we don't really see the other side. He is just a dickhead.
Mm.
Yeah,
and even when he's justifying the way he behaves towards his son, we don't buy into that. We're not supposed to. Because he's like, oh, I'm doing this to protect you or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, that's what an abusive person would say. And then we have this flip where his homophobia is obviously repressed homosexuality, because you can't just be a true-blooded American homophobe without, apparently. So
it's weird how much that's influenced the like cultural zeitgeist as a reference point. Like, a lot of people seem to think, well, if you're homophobic, you are gay, and the reference point for that is American Beauty. And I don't know how much truth there is to it all the time. I think a lot of the time people are just bigoted.
That's it. I think people do just hate other people for...
Yeah. I'm sure having homosexual urges and tendencies can manifest in that way a lot of the time.
Yeah, if you've been brought up in a way to say that's wrong.
The twist is, he's actually gay himself. And then when he acts on it, you're almost meant to feel a bit of sympathy for him. And that was a move that Kevin Spacey used when allegations of him raping young men came out. And then he was like, by the way, I'm gay, so I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
This is a lovely hole.
I'm gonna take that audio clip out of context and remix it.
I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night.
This is a lovely hole.
I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night.
This is a lovely hole. Darn you!
When I asked that question about Alan and if he's ever said given himself a name during, I'm just gonna drop that clip.
Well, then you're going, this is a lovely hole.
What were you hoping? Yeah, he loves to be called Harvey.
I don't get it. What, Harvey's a big rabbit?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, do you never do the old big rabbit role play? Yeah, I go, oh, gee, Harvey, let's go and make love.
So should we dig into Lester's plot a bit? Because we've kind of covered everyone around him.
Go on.
He has Does anything trigger it specifically?
He smokes a joint.
No, and well, is it that, or is he sees the young girl, or is it both?
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of both, because
he's in a position in his work where it looks like he might get fired.
That was it. Yeah, it was his job. That's the inciting incident.
It is and it isn't. That's like a catalyst, but it's
that's
not
an
the
ongoing
reason.
thing. He's unhappy in his marriage, and that's obviously an ongoing thing. The joint smoking is obviously a gateway drug.
Incentive.
It makes him throw his life away. But also the fact that he sees this other kid and like, oh my god, you're 18, you're so cool because you don't care about having a job because you don't have to pay a mortgage.
She says if he works out, I'd fuck him, and so then he works out.
Oh yeah, he overhears it. Yeah. I do like how realistic a portrayal of sex as a motivator this film is.
Yeah.
You've lost a lot of weight recently, haven't you, Sol?
I think pretty much all male betterment is driven by sexual comfort. But I like that. I thought it was very, very believable, because I'd probably behave the same way if in a really attractive woman I was into, I overheard her being like, yeah, I'd totally bang him if he just toned his arms up a bit. I'd be like, right.
Yeah, but what if she was like, oh, I'd totally be into him if he smoked?
Yeah.
I just really like you'd start smoking.
In front of her, yeah. I mean, not just, I pretend to be like a smoker.
You'd hold it wrong and give yourself away.
What wouldn't you do?
I think I'd do most things. I mean, I probably wouldn't kill anyone.
God. Probably wouldn't kill anyone. Take that out of context.
I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night.
And I probably wouldn't kill anyone.
I could eat a knob at night. I could eat a knob at night.
This is a lovely hole.
So
Well,
if you heard someone saying, "Oh God, I hate my dad," if someone just killed him, I'd totally like shag him. You'd be like,
No, it's too much. Well, no, how attractive are they?
she's very attractive, and it's the dad who don't like him anyway is a bit of a knob.
I might hang around till they're having an argument and then like jump in and be like, "Oi, leave her alone, leave it."
Leave her alone.
Yeah.
Well, can I use that as an abridgment to? Well, not an abridgment. That doesn't make sense. Can I use that
segue
as a segue into talking about the visuals of the film?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which specifically for someone who's come from a theatre background into film, first film, Sam Mendes, it's fantastic. Really, it's really visual, and the way colours are used. There's some really classic cinema. Like Mina Savari has like a highlight on her eyes like the whole time, like like Lillian Gish in the 1920s. It's like that lighting the starlet kind of thing, that sort of thing. Red is a very prominent colour in the palette.
I had very similar thought actually. My memory of this film was that it was just very plainly directed, but really well written. And going back to it, I think it's a lot more down to the direction than my memory had given it credit for. It's a very well directed film. A lot of nice cinematography, lighting, like you say. The music's good in the film as well. Actually, there is a very iconic theme to the film.
Yeah,
it's worth
What is
shouting out.
Do it now.
Do 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 do.
Sounds shit. Sounds like a Mario game.
Do.
Yeah, well, I'm not a piano.
Oh, we do. Oh wait, wrong film.
Oh.
Do 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 do.
There's two themes though, aren't there? There's that one, and then there's the one. No. No, I try. What's the other one?
Oh,
it's the one that comes across even stupider.
Just ripping off Lion King 2 anyway.
There's only one theme in existence. Lion King 2 was written, and everything else all stems from that. Even Lion King, the first one, written it off.
Written off Lion King 2.
The only other thing that I was going to mention, actually, regarding the sex stuff as a power dynamic, when we see Mina Savari's character, and in fact we find out she's just lying and blustering, but she's saying, "Oh yeah, I'll sleep with someone if it gets me a job. I was doing this modelling shoot and I slept with him because I knew he can get me places." I thought that was very interesting, and because we find out she's lying about that, but that's like a preemptive defense for her because she knows she's going to be in a situation where that could happen. So she's already trying to justify it in her own head, so that when it does happen, she can deal with it. And
I'd sleep with someone for a job if anyone's hiring.
Doesn't matter what the job is.
Like I'd do almost anything. I wouldn't kill a man, but now you'll sleep with someone for a job. And...
What job?
Well, yeah, that's not new. Sleep with people for less than that. So,
do you ever sleep for people for nothing at all? You don't charge them anything. That's very generous.
Sometimes I actually put a great amount of time and effort into like
manipulating them,
buying them drinks and taking them out for a meal, that sort of thing. So I actually end up out of pocket myself sometimes.
God. I can't believe it. It's shattered your whole image.
I mean, I don't think I've ever gone on a second date. So
you've never been on a second date?
I don't think I have.
It does suggest your first dates aren't good.
No, I just can't be arsed with people, Alan. I just can't be arsed.
But you know that you get like more regular sex if you.
I went on like the first bad first date the other week with someone where it got ended quite abruptly, and I thought, oh, like they made their excuse like, oh, I've got to go and do this thing in the morning, so sorry, and I just thought, oh, okay, they obviously went into it, whatever. But then I was on this app, and on some of these apps you can tell when the person's liked you, even though you're not meant to be able to. If you can figure it out based on stuff. And she liked me on this app again, like this different app that we sort of bumped paths on afterwards. So she's obviously still interested. So it obviously did go right.
Either that or she just doesn't recognise you at all, Sol, and you weren't that memorable.
No, I'm very, very, very
Oh, it's the Shrek Memes guy.
Oh man!
Wait a second,
Talking about Mike Myers, right?
Oh my god!
Talking about Shrek memes. Talking about Mike Myers. There is a very Austin Powers-esque scene in this film. In this otherwise serious film that we're supposed to take seriously. The scene where Chris Cooper's looking at his son through the window, and then it's like angled very specifically so it looks like he's sucking off Kevin Spacey, but Kevin Spacey's actually just leaning back in the chair with his shirt off, like, and the son's like rolling a cigarette, a joint, but it's framed to look like a blowjob. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It's sub Goldmember level bullshit. Did this win Best Picture?
Yeah.
This Best Picture winning film with that fucking cheap sight gag. Offensive.
But they built the set with the windows in that position just so they could get that shot.
It's like when Austin Powers stands behind a sausage and then she like takes a bite from it and he walks behind the coffee pot and then his penis lines up with the spout on it and he yawns and she pours some tea out. Oh god. It's just so contrived to get to that point.
But to get to such a serious point as well.
Yeah.
Like if it was a comedy and he was like, "Oh my god, what's my son doing? Oh, whoops."
That's it, it's like fucking American Pie. Oh dear. I've got a few more questions or
okay.
complaints on similar level to that. So he gets paid off at work. He blackmails them, says he's going to make false claims of sexual misconduct, blah, 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 blah. Gets, a year paid off?
A year's salary with benefits.
And then he immediately goes and gets a job at McDonald's parody.
Smileys.
Why?
Movies.
He's not worried about bringing in money. Is he worried that soon about padding out his year's salary with some minimum wage?
Well, I don't know.
No,
how much is that sports car going to set him back? Because
yeah, but it's
if he's
it's
blown
not
a lot
about
of it
the
on
money,
that.
though, is it? That's the point. It's about harking back to when he was a teenager and he just worked in the thing make enough money to buy some weed every weekend. Yeah,
I'd say you should just swan around not having a job. Be a man of leisure for a bit. His lifestyle's not gonna be massively supplemented by that.
Are you kidding? It cost him $2,000 for a tiny bit of weed. And then he buys the sports car he's always wanted. That's not going to be cheap.
I mean, minimum wage in America is not a lot of money. Yeah. It's not worth it.
I don't think it's about the money. It's about him just taking on a job that has very little responsibility.
Zero responsibility.
He feels like he's still doing something.
That's it. My memory of the film was that he gave up a very high-powered, high-paying position to take this low-level job because it was no responsibility, and he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm happier in this job. And rewatching it, where it isn't that at all, it doesn't work as well as my memory of it. Because in rewatching it, it's like, oh, he's financially secure, he doesn't actually need to worry about work. So the fact that he's taken this job purely for like the happiness and enjoying his work, regardless of stature or income, doesn't mean anything.
He has nothing to lose. It's the same as the boy at the beginning.
And I think it would have been a lot better if he did need the job, but he just, was happy to work at a burger place. It does set up an excellent scene where he finds out that his wife's cheating on him.
But also, so at that point, he takes on this other job before he realises about the affair. And if you remember the scene where he's actually just quit his job and they're sat down at the dinner table and Carolyn, the wife, is like, oh yeah, thank you, I'm now the sole breadwinner. So maybe there was some element of like, I need to at least be bringing something in for the family. And then he finds out his wife's having an affair.
No, his response to that is I've already got a job.
He's bringing in a good salary for the next 12 months.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Plus benefits.
But like I said, he's then going to blow it on sports cars and weed, so...
Well, that's what it's for.
I like the scene where he has a wank next to his wife. I found that very relatable.
Yeah, and the fact that she's then offended by it. It's like, well, yeah, what do you expect me to do?
You got to do it less vigorously so they don't wake up.
I don't think it was vigorous. It was the sound of the nice, high-quality sheets rubbing.
I mean, that's vigorous, though. You've got to do really slow and discreetly. And I tell you, if you manage to get there doing it like that, ooh-wee. Takes about an hour, but it's worth it.
So worth it.
He's going to another room.
Do you want to rate the film?
Yeah. I gave American Beauty 8 out of 10.
I gave American Beauty a 9 out of 10, actually. It's quite a generous 9, that.
I'm torn between a 9 and a 10. Because I really like it.
I mean, going 10, you gotta love it. That's going big.
But the thing is, I can't really fault it. That's why.
I mean, we've already discussed its many faults. And if
No,
you don't agree,
you've
then
discussed its
obviously
many faults. Well, I don't get the Goldmember reference, I'm afraid. To me, I just thought everything came together really well, and it was such an evocative film, and I think that made it, like, possibly a 10 as a project?
Yeah, baby. Your son's noshing me off, baby.
Oh, God. Okay, Judy, come on. We don't have fence sitting on this show. You got to pick a number between 7 and 8 and go with it.
I mean, look, last week we put out, at the time of recording, in fact, not even at the time, last week, because this is quick turnaround, this episode. Last week we put out Little Shop of Horrors, and 2 of us gave it a 10, and it's now the second highest rated film that we've ever done on the podcast.
Oh, damn, who gave it a 10? Alan, you didn't give it a 10.
No.
You gave it an 8.
So, if you want to give American Beauty a 10, I think that's fair.
Oh, fuck it, yeah, I'm going to give it a 10.
Whoa!
Hold the phone! Yeah.
10 out of 10, baby!
Oh, no.
Does American Beauty make you horny, baby?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
baby.
Look out! It's Mike Myers Bond.
This is a new character. This is 10 out of 10. Os 10 powers, and he shows up whenever someone gives a 10.
You're gonna make him all horny, Shrek?
Yeah, baby! 10 out of 10, baby!
You want a crepe and a pancake, Shrek? You want a crepe and a waffle? I'll make a waffle and a crepe and a pancake.
God. Oh, it's strange.
So, in terms of sequels to American Beauty, there's not really a go-to here, is there?
Yeah.
Nothing obvious.
I think there's a very obvious way to say this. Very obvious route to go down.
Take Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy
No,
straight out of there.
you're being silly. That's stupid.
Yes.
Oh, God. Smack my wrist.
No, Lester dies, doesn't he? The kid likes filming ghosts on his camera. He's a paranormal investigator, as we've established earlier on. He's filming a ghost, like, flying around in his back garden or whatever it is on the road with some leaves. So the kid starts investigating the haunting that Lester's doing. Lester's haunting all the houses that Annette Bening's trying to sell.
And he's manifested as a plastic bag.
A wispy little ghost. Little white sheep.
Woo!
It's the one off Snapchat.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is Snapchat?
What the hell is a Snapchat?
Is it a bit like the dynamic between Mina Savari and Kevin Spacey? Can you guys relate to that dynamic? I'm calling you old,
weird.
Alan. That's what I'm
Being
doing.
attracted to teenage girls? No, I definitely can't relate to that if anyone's listening.
No one's listening.
There's no teenage girls listening, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, Christ.
I think in general that question is just not really safe to answer, is it?
Which one?
The one you asked.
What, are you attracted to teenage girls?
Well, I'm not. I'm alright.
Are you attracted to older men?
Well, there you go. That's the problem.
Are you?
Well, I went out with Alan. I mean, for quite a while.
He is quite an old man.
Emotionally,
He's 10 years older than me.
Has he got any grey hairs yet sneaking in?
You're emotionally not a man. You're emotionally like a poo.
A poo?
As in just kind of devoid of emotion. Like I said, he's passive.
When you say a poo, you don't mean from The Simpsons. You mean like a
No,
turd.
I don't mean a
Come on, Sol, do the voice. Don't pussy.
don't do it.
No, it's not okay anymore. You can't do it. Even Hank Azaria is not allowed to do it anymore.
No, because if you do an impression of Hank Azaria, then it's not racist.
I can do an impression of Hank Azaria. hey, it's me, Hank Azaria. I'm actually, I'm really boring in real life. I've got a really boring voice. I do a lot of, when I'm on Friends.
Why did I ever get mixed up with that bitch? 'Cause she's got a great ass!
Oh yeah, he's in that scene. I was thinking, why are you doing Al Pacino? And then you didn't shout properly, Alan. You've got to really go for it.
Oh, sorry, hang on. Let me do it again. Clear my throat. 'Cause she's got a great ass! And you got your head all the way up it!
Oh, it's gone Christopher Lloyd. He ruined it.
Oh god, I love Al Pacino. We need to do an Al Pacino movie soon, all right?
Yeah, we should. Let's do that one where he's shagging Adam Sandler's playing his own sister.
Yeah. Oh god, do you remember Alan? That you only saw that because I was watching it in 20-minute installments. Because my PlayStation had just like is when they brought in this new technology where it would detect like recent films. I think Sony movies specifically that had been pirated and were being played on the PS3 like through their audio or something. And it would let you watch 20 minutes and then it would just cut the audio from your PlayStation.
And then you had to like reboot it and stuff.
Yeah, I had to like, no, it didn't work. I had to like leave it a day or something to forget that it had already played this. So over like a week, I watched Jack and Jill and you watched it with me, I think, in 20-minute installments each time.
Maybe I didn't see the whole thing then. I just saw like one 20-minute section.
You weren't into it though. You're acting like you've got fond memories of it now, but
I don't think I've ever seen it. I think
you were furious about it. That and Little Big Man or whatever it's called, my favourite with the Wayans as a little baby.
That's a Dustin Hoffman film.
What am I thinking?
Little
of?
Man, you're thinking of Little Man with the Wayans.
Yeah, you hated that. I thought it was so bad it was good. I thought it was hilariously shit, but you were like, no, this is offensively awful. Not offensive.
I'm less angry these days though.
Okay. We should do Little Man on the podcast. We should do a poll with Big Mama's House trilogy, Little Man,
Oh, still going.
Jack and Jill. We should do an Adam Sandler movie. American Beauty, eh? So what's the sequel? French Ugly. Thora Birch and the guy run off to New York.
And then they realise they hate each other.
No, they're arrested for the murder of Lester, but it's really obvious they didn't do it on account of the fingerprints on the gun. The dad turns himself in at the end to like get his son off the hook because he reconciles with him, and it's like his moment of redemption where he's like, you know what, I love my boy.
If you were going to do this, what story would you tell today that had the kind of same relevance as that story had in at the turn of the century? Because you wouldn't tell that story again today. Things are different now.
Doesn't American Beauty seem like the sort of film that would have had an actual sequel in development for a few years before it just kind of fell apart? And
it's such a standalone thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean like one of those 10 years on, they announce, we're going to make a sequel to this film, and everyone's like, really? And then it never actually happened. Like how they're making Passion of the Christ 2 at the moment.
Yes.
Jesus is back, and this time he's pissed.
Like how they were going to make Gladiator 2, but it didn't happen.
Really? That's stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why it fell apart. It was going to be about Russell Crowe going to the afterlife and like coming back with like Greek gods and shit. It was going to be absolutely insane.
What about American Booty?
We did a porn spoof last week.
Oh, okay. I mean, I didn't have any further than that, basically.
What about American Beauty? And we remake the film comedically as like a 15-minute short using stuffed animal, like toys, Action Man.
It's been done.
Then, the moment I'd been waiting for finally came. Whoa!
What's wrong? I thought you said I was beautiful.
I didn't realize you actually had roses instead of breasts.
Don't you still want to do it?
Well, no.
Yeah, it's been done.
You know, Fargo, the TV series, is like a new story, but tonally the same, set in the same world, in the same area.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. American Beauty, to me, is effectively a prequel for Desperate Housewives. You know, they've done that as a series. It's Desperate Housewives, and it starts with a murder, and then it's all of us on Wisteria Lane, blah, blah, you know.
We need Calvin here, because I've never seen it.
Oh, Desperate Housewives. It's good.
Is it?
I enjoy it. Doesn't mean it's good.
I think in this day and age, you want to pick up with Thora Birch anyway, if you're going to do this. Like, his age-ish now, right?
And she's locked in a loveless marriage and addicted
And
to
she's
pills.
going through the same shit, yeah. She can deal with the same thing, but come at it from a very different perspective, because her dad did this, and she saw what happened there, and times have changed, and obviously she's bringing a female perspective to it.
And then the boy next door is either in prison or a congressman.
Rehab. He's in rehab. Still. So then what's Angela, what's her face doing? The Mina, what's her
Mina
face?
Savari.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her character would be dead.
She was crack addict.
Yeah.
She took a lot of crack.
She went at 27, joined the 27 club. No, she went at 28. Year too late.
But it would just, it would just go through the same thing again.
Well, would it? Or would
Yeah.
it comment on that, subvert it, go in a new direction with the fact
If
that
it
her dad...
didn't, it would just be horribly chirpy.
You can have her cling to the monotony of her life because she saw what happened to her dad. And
I really see it as like a unsequelable
Well, why don't we
film.
instead of pitching a satisfying sequel idea, we just put in a load of stuff about Saul's sex life?
We've done that, it's fine. We can just take it out the middle and edit it onto the end of this thing.
That's what I'm talking about. And then I can go to bed.
that would be good, actually, if they put that out in cinemas, American Beauty 2, and people go and sit down in the cinema, really excited, and then it's just me talking about my sex life, sat in a chair.
And this has been American Beauty and all other variants. America's Weirdest Home Movies is what's just happened. Oh, that was my idea. That was my sequel idea. That was my sequel idea. You know the bit where he's filming him through the garage thing, and he's like, "Oh, America's Weirdest Home Movies."
Most beautiful videos.
No, the sequel was going to be that the footage ends up on You've Been Framed, and and then it comes to light that there's like a murder investigation, and then they find the video of Ricky Fitz saying like, "Yeah, I'd kill your dad," and then it goes into it.
Ricky
Yeah.
Fitz?
That's the next door neighbour.
His name's Ricky Fitz?
I think so.
That's like a fucking men's club comedian from the 70s. Ricky Fitz! Now then, ladies and gentlemen.
I think it's Ricky Fitz.
I mean, I can believe it is. It's just a weird... I mean, Lester's a weird name. Lester's another name, like a working men's club comedian. What's his surname?
Burnham.
That's a working man's club comedian.
Lester
Burnham, definitely.
My wife.
At the end of this film, I'll be dead, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyway, I'm going to stop recording now.
Thanks, Judy, for coming.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
There you go, that was American Beauty. We'll be back next week with better quality audio. Thanks again to Judy. If you're a fan of Judy, then stick around, because we have booked her in for her third episode already. Though it won't be for a while, you know, don't expect to turn up next week. As ever, if you want us in the meantime, head over to dimreturns.com, and please do, if you haven't already, take the time to rate and review us on iTunes. Generally spread the word of the show, find us on social media and like us there as well. Hope you liked that. I think you'll enjoy what's coming next week. Bye.